One moment away. He had to wait for her recording.
Okay, call this meeting to order at 7:12. Call roll.
Trevor Smith,
Here.
Bailey Wineland is absent. Mayor Colm,
Yep.
Terry Andrew Lowry.
Here.
Okay, Josh Baker, Jonathan Schaefer, and Bailey Wineland are absent tonight. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, approval, do we have any approval of the agenda? We don't have anything.
I have some revisions.
Okay, go.
Director Baker will not be doing his presentation tonight.
Okay.
Let's see.
Anything else?
But I think that's it right now.
Okay, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
We have a motion and a second, any discussion
Motion to approve with revisions to the agenda.
with revisions? No, Director Baker. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, so most of our board's not here. Well, half our board's not here. So I'm going to save my comments till they're all here. Any board of trustees like to address? Ruth, anything?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Grant update?
Still working through the paperwork. We got that $500,000 from the TAP program for CDOT. They're gonna cover the match to that until we can, if we can, secure further funding. We are working toward other opportunities for funding that have been forwarded to me from CDOT that we're currently in the process of filling out, and we will be applying to DOLA to bring that amount up to get through the planning and engineering portion of it, which is the first portion. It's nowhere near enough. That $500,000 I have since found out will be split over 3 years. So
Anything else?
as far as the building's concerned, the basement's still not fixed. We're still waiting for permits from the state for abatement of the asbestos. That's it.
No, we have a public health report. Anything from Mr. Mendez?
Nothing of really from Mr. Mendez. He's working diligently to keep up with the weeds as they keep growing because of all the rain. He's really working his rear off. It's kind of hard to do them after the rains, you know, because it's been raining so much and it's so high. It's very thick at the bottom, so it's kind of hard to get them closer to the rain. So he's still working on getting those updated and done. We don't have any problems right now.
Okay, a few days a week, it's getting tough for him to mow the edge of the street, so.
It's still having a hard time.
Yeah, well, Shoshone needs it, so we might have to go grab the tractor and get that done.
There was a delay in getting some mowing done because both mowers went down at one
Oh, we're
time.
broke.
So he spent 2 days
Fix it.
trying to get it fixed. So
All
can't
right,
mow without a mower.
we'll check with him before we go out.
Okay,
We gotta fix that.
yeah.
It appears that code enforcement has been busy with weeds, 94 types of violations. And she has in her area junk and debris and clean and orderly. And trash and rubbish. And to follow that up, I think that we're gonna work pretty hard to come up with a plan. So that we don't have to keep addressing, sending letters, etc.
Yeah, I'm sorry not to interrupt you, but she's gonna be here tonight to speak to that. I don't know where she's at right now. But I just would like you guys to know these weeds are not what she's issuing right now for the tall grass. She doesn't consider that fair.
Yeah.
So these are ongoing issues.
Oh, yeah,
For the entire quarter, they're not associated with the high grass right now.
yeah, I drove around town and you could tell the difference.
Yeah,
Yeah, so. My wife's garden with all the flowers in it has gone stupid, so as far as growth. Okay, consent items. Approval of minutes from June 13th.
I'm gonna make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Everybody have an opportunity to peruse through the financials?
I did do issue items. This is our current to date where we're at with our budget. You want to pass that down? Now, the financials you have were as of last week. This is as of today.
Okay.
Here's the picture.
Susie is cleaning up a meeting that she's in right now. She'll be joining us momentarily if you guys have any questions about it.
Okay.
Plus, she's gonna be joining us for further in the meeting for the other. There is a large amount on under CIRSA. I put in parentheses things that were out of the ordinary. We received the claim check already for CIRSA. And that's based off of the invoices that were submitted by the individual contractors for asbestos abatement, for water damage. Those that won't change until actually, we are responsible for cutting those checks to them. Insurance does not pay them directly. So they send us the check and then we send them payment on those invoices. If the work's not been done yet, the rebuild and the asbestos has not been done, so that money's gonna sit there until I cut those checks on those invoices.
Okay.
Any motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, before we go on to public hearing, I gotta back up.
Okay.
I had the opportunity last Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to go to a conference with the Colorado Municipal League. And it's up at that fancy hotel, which I never stay at because I couldn't afford the rooms, but I think it was geared a lot towards the larger municipality. But I had an opportunity to visit with people from like Lamar and Bennett and other small entities. Aspen's not a small entity, they got a lot of money, but and there are things that they told me about that I think we could begin to work towards implementing and moving our town a little bit more, forward as far as everything we need to do. For example, Bennett has a company that sprays mosquito. Did we get a hold of those guys?
Yes, I did. He's gonna send me a scheduled time for next week to come out and we're gonna tour the town, show them the limits and what we want, and then we're gonna get a quote.
Okay, everyone that I talked to in town up at the 4th of July celebration and just residents and some business owners thought that that would be a pretty good idea because they're just thicker than stick can be. And if it's cost effective, if we can afford it, and it's not going to do any harm to anything or anyone, I think we need to get it done. But it was interesting talking to some of these other towns. They have the same issues for the most part that we have. It's hard to keep everybody happy, like a lot of them said. You just take your ordinances and you follow them best you can and try to move on down the line and make sure that people are getting the services that they need in the community. So it was quite a conference. I was impressed with the numbers, but like I said, it was geared toward people and some of the presenters, the booths, whatever they call them. The power line people were there and
Exhibit.
we got an opportunity to visit with them and say, okay, all this power wants to go to, you want to use it for Denver Aurora, why are you running it through our front yard? You know, type thing. Well, that's something we'll look into. So you don't get a straight answer, but you give an opportunity to talk to them and see what they're thinking. And like I said, they're just people, they're representing a company, they're not the big wig, so. It was interesting, and I hope that with the information we both gathered, Kimberly and I, we can start darting forward with some of the issues that we need to take care of, so. Okay, motion to come out of our meeting at 7:23.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion at 7:24 to go into public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, do we have anybody here? You're doing this? You're the man, Eric.
All right,
All right, baby, jump up there.
well, my name's Eric Whitman and I'm representing the Kiowa Lions Club and once again this year.
Hold on,
we-
oh, hold on. No, this is a public hearing for a liquor license.
Oh, I don't want a liquor license.
I know. Give me just a second to
Have
get through
a
the
beer.
public hearing and
You
you can
can
go
hard
on.
at me.
I know,
Well, I thought you were
looked
gonna
at me
do the
now,
liquor
don't make eye
license.
contact.
Sorry.
No, nobody's here. Give just a second. Nobody's here. Katie, you want to speak to the liquor license you've received from them, what they've submitted?
So they turned in all the information that we required. They stated that their event will start at 3 p.m. on July 22nd and will end at 10 p.m. and cleanup is by 11 p.m. They have all the information in. I don't see any reason why we can't approve it. So,
The bar will be serving the liquor
yep, they have a zoning map.
using the same ID checking.
They're gonna
methods
use
as in the
wristbands, is my understanding, for the bar, and that they are going to have some type of a law enforcement on hand. I think they were talking about the posse thing with.
You're gonna do bracelets, I saw that, and I thought that I can't remember what the last thing the school sold liquor at,
Not sure.
fairground something, what was that, casino night?
Yeah.
And I
The bar
thought that went
participated.
pretty good,
Yeah,
I don't know how much money they made, but
that was for alumni.
did everybody get a chance to cruise through, we have a new, and I'm pretty proud of him, we have a new head basketball coach at Kiowa School. And he's trying to do everything he can to enhance the program. And you know, he took the kids to camp and he's just trying to raise money to make sure that they have a good year. So I think it'll be pretty cool. Any other discussion on that one?
Next public hearing, if they don't show up in person, I will not approve. Period.
That makes sense. That's what I thought somebody would be here tonight.
I was under the understanding that somebody would be.
Yeah, I have to kind of agree with you. Because that's why we, we asked them to come and
Yes, listed as a requirement for them to be in person. And they should be there.
Well, if it is listed as a requirement, then should we be approving it if nobody's here to speak to it?
I thought you had to be there in person. This is two on Kiowa School. Casino night, nobody was here.
nobody's here for that.
But you set a precedence by already approving the other one when nobody's.
I'm making a statement now. I
I agree. I have to agree.
Well, I don't think it's setting a precedence. I think it gave an allowance the first time. And now it's repeated the behavior, that would be setting a precedence if we did it a
If we
second time.
notified them and said that next time it would have been turned down if you weren't there.
I think the only person that can argue that is somebody from the school.
Or the bar, and it's not really the school getting the liquor license, it's the bar.
That's what's back.
Yes, but the school tried for it. That's where the problem's at.
Who gets money from those liquor sales?
The high school basketball team boys.
School does. Now, how many days do we have? We could continue it,
It's on the 22nd, yeah.
so we have, we can do.
Well, if I could get my damn phone to work.
And I can't get too hard because I got half the frickin' board is somewhere besides here too, so I can't be a complete.
No, you're right.
Have to start on that one. I was going, but
That's why I made the statement. From now on,
It's at your leisure, but I think we have at least 24 hours that we can do a special meeting to do it if we want to make notification to them to be here. And they would still be able to get in.
well, would you be opposed to me calling JR and getting his butt up here?
I'm not opposed to it. I'm
I can get
hoping
my
that it's
damn phone
down
to
the
work.
street.
because if you're doing a public hearing for a rezone or addition or a fence or
Rick,
a
I
dog
got
that got lost across the damn street, you gotta be here.
it. Rick, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah. Hey, JR. Hey, this is Kim up at the town hall. Are you able to come up here for this public hearing real quick? For your liquor list.
Can they call in?
They are. Yeah,
Can I zoom in?
you put it on
Can you zoom
speakerphone.
in?
Who do you got?
Or can we put you on speakerphone right now? Okay, I got JR. I'm gonna put you
Tell
on
him to run his butt
speakerphone.
up here.
He's in Franktown. Would you rather him be on the phone or in person? I'll let you know the problem is later. I take your lead. You tell me what you want. And JR said he could be here in 20 minutes.
I'm just,
No, put him on speakerphone. We don't wanna,
JR.
Yeah.
cause he'll drive like an idiot.
There's a requirement, you guys be here, and nobody's here representing, that's what the issue is. I want to put you on speakerphone so you're representing the school, okay? Okay, or I could just put you on speakerphone, we call it good. Okay, hon, hold on. JR, you're on speakerphone.
JR, where's your representation?
Over.
We're having a public hearing for your event and nobody's here to tell us anything about it.
Oh, I didn't know it was tonight. That's my fault. I was in therapy.
Okay,
on this liquor permit that we're approving, you're doing a cash bar.
Correct. The Kiowa bar is doing a cash and they'll have their, queue.
Okay. Who gets the proceeds from it?
The Kiowa bar.
What
does the school get out of it?
What does the school get out of it?
The school is not doing anything with the alcohol. That is purely the Kiowa bar.
Okay, I understand. Okay. I don't. Oh,
Okay, so the school would be getting the proceeds from the horseshoe tournament, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
They would be getting the proceeds from the horseshoe tournament and, raffle. Just like people buying in for the horseshoes, and
Sure.
then we'll be doing a silent auction. Those are the only proceeds the school will be getting.
okay. Okay,
any other questions for JR?
no, I'm good.
Thank you, JR.
You're welcome. That's my fault. All right, if you need something.
All
Okay,
right, thank you.
bye-bye.
Thanks, JR.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure, the group. And I thought that the alcohol was, they were gonna get a cut from that.
I would have thought so.
And
Should be a good cut.
I move that we approve it.
We have a motion to approve the
I'll second it.
special event liquor license. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I have to agree with Trevor. 100% that these don't get approved unless they're here and tell us, because I really assumed that the school basketball kids were gonna get a little bit of that money, but evidently.
I mean, I kind of understand this murky water there.
Yeah.
And
But,
yeah, you're probably true.
at the same time, if that outfit was, really, I need to digest this. I'm obviously, I'm on supportive, but at the same time, I want to digest it, because really, if this goes, the Kiowa schools, if that's the case, they don't need to be applying for the liquor license.
No,
Bar does.
The bar,
Yes,
I have to agree.
yeah.
yes,
I'm just out, if I could say something, I know I'm not. I don't think by law, and you guys can double check that the school can get any of the proceeds. Because it is a legal license that the bar carries. They have to be the ones selling, IDing, collecting and keeping. Now, later, the bar could maybe give them a donation.
That's what I was
Yeah,
about to say.
So-
But it could be a third thing, right? But it can't be because of that.
I think that's what we were.
what
looking
she
for,
just brought
was a
up,
donation.
then I question myself approving the liquor license by law for school.
That's a great point. Can they have a event?
I mean, and hold on,
Go ahead.
before I jump, I mean, I realize that this is done by the foundation, so it isn't directly Kiowa School District applying for it, it's a
the
foundation,
foundation.
Right.
which I'm okay with. But at the end of the day, if they're doing it, and they go, all right. And similar to other deals or functions, let's take Elbert County Fair. Cowboy Up applies for that liquor license.
Yeah.
Not Elbert County Fair. Not the fair, Cowboy Up, that rodeo system. They apply for that liquor license. They run all that. They do all that. When they're done, they give a cut back to the Elbert County Fair Board for handling that. And so I think that is clear and transparent. This event is run by the Kiowa Foundation, which is, and the intentions of the proceeds of the event are going to the basketball. So if they're Buckenhorse fraternity, same way. We run the Buckenhorse fraternity, but I don't handle the liquor. Because I don't want the insurance mess. And so a different group comes in, they apply for the liquor license, they go through all of it. So I think it's something that we just need to, in the future, digest through. That I think if somebody's gonna have, for instance, the Kiowa Bar run it, which that's the way this is turned in, Kiowa Bar needs to apply for the liquor license. If it's gonna be, if they're gonna have Cowboy Up run the liquor, that's fine, let them apply for it. But don't let the group, so the 4-H Foundation, they do their deal, but they handle everything. They
So,
handle all the drinks, they handle everything, so they apply for that. So that's something.
Comment
Can
there.
I chime in?
Yep, comment.
So, well, how did you guys handle it when Elizabeth's Chamber used the bar and when several of the other events have used the bar?
And I'm, cause they
We
did
just
that.
need
And I,
continuity.
yeah, and I get that, so
With
But-
legality.
because of, cause that was for the fashion show, right?
Well, there was the fashion show and then they had the poker night
yeah.
and then you've also,
So on the poker night,
Hey,
'cause that-
guys, can I propose that Katie interject here, because she's the one that deals directly with the liquor board, the laws, the regulations. And all of that surrounding this, she has information that may clear this up without having this discussion.
Okay, Katie, go.
So I do have to go with the state and I have to send them information to get this approved. They did approve it per your vote, okay? You guys have the ultimate say, even though the state said otherwise. Instead said that they approve, it, okay? Now, the Kiowa Bar did apply for this license. They brought the paperwork in, they brought the check in, okay? There's ultimately two parties to this. The Kiowa Bar, we got their information, and we got this school's foundation information also. So it's a 2-in-1. So it's not just the bar that's receiving this liquor license. It's the bar and the foundation. It's not just one.
And the state's good with
And the
how
state
it was
fine.
applied for, how it was put through.
Correct. It's all legal and legal.
So it doesn't put the town in an undue situation
No.
with the state.
So. Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah, that is.
Going back to your comment on the fashion. The group of the chamber that applied for that fashion deal. They applied for the liquor license. And they clearly said. They applied for everything. Kiowa Bar is administering, so basically they're hiring them to handle the serving and however.
Just like anybody who hires.
But this comes back to new set of, I think, something that we all need to be aware of. And, you know, at the end of the day, if you're running the liquor, you know, who's responsible if something goes sideways? And that's,
Where the Kiowa Bar comes in as opposed to the liability on
so
the.
So the liability is in on the Kiowa Bar.
who's pulling the insurance? Who's doing and those are the questions that I think for us to be aware of. But, that being said, I call for question. I guess we can vote till we're out of here.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Katie
You can do it.
Do we have to move out of public hearing to make a vote?
Do we have any more public hearing though first?
We gotta come out and vote. Oh, motion to come out of public hearing. 7:39.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay, at 7:40, motion to go back into our regular meeting.
So, man,
So, you have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Back into public meeting at 7:40. Now, the issue is the Kiowa Bar asking for a liquor license for that event.
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, can I,
Opposed?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You what?
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Okay, we'll let them get that done, but I think that we need to make sure that next time we do a liquor license. And have a public hearing, somebody needs to be here.
It's in the information that they get before they even apply.
Thank you for all of this extra little info here. I mean, that just cut and dry, it explained it
So
to me.
they follow the process.
Yes, yeah.
I was about to say, I know we have an executive session on this schedule tonight. I feel like I know now why Joey's here. And rather than hold them hostage or send them out and have them come back in, can we possibly move new business up before the executive session? So that they can get on their way.
In the SDR.
Absolutely. Yes. So that code enforcement can go home, they can address what they want to address. And then we can go into executive session and we don't have to hold anybody hostage outside.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to move new business?
New business up above. Yeah, we could do public comments and then move new business up.
Okay, so we're gonna go public comment right now.
yeah, Eric, you're right.
Eric, you're out, baby.
There you go, Eric.
My
There you
first pan,
go.
my first 2 batches of pancakes, I burned pretty bad, but then I got her.
Well, you know, it's like riding a bike, once you learn.
Once you learn, yeah.
Lions Club is selling peaches again this year, and I've already got Terry's order.
Oh,
So is my son.
I want parachute.
Anyway, the biggest thing is we're taking orders until about the middle of August. The arrival date is the 26th of August. It'll be the third crop. I've never have quite understood how you can get 3 crops off of a tree, but that's okay. The biggest thing is this year, if diesel's over $4 a gallon, they're gonna make us pay a surcharge. So that's why we've had to cover our backside by adding a little more money to the town.
How much are they?
Small box is 35, a large box, 18 pounds is 45. Do you want one of these one, lady?
Better give me one for the wife, because I don't imagine Ruthie and her have connected yet.
Oh.
Thank you.
People got me here. And
Other than that, we will start pancake breakfast this fall in September, second Sunday of the month, simply because the holiday, we don't do it first month.
Second Sunday of the month, which starting when?
Sunday, whatever, that Sunday is on September.
Second Sunday,
So,
starting 6.
and we'll go through May next year.
Okay.
So,
Eric, can you send me a monthly email? If you guys are doing fundraising for a particular cause, so I could put that out,
okay, all right,
like if you're doing it for sunglasses or for eyeglasses or the school or.
right. Lots of times we do get, that's what we gear it towards. The ones like March, April, and May are for the scholarship.
Okay,
We awarded that to a young lady down in Elbert this year.
okay.
The biggest thing is trying to get those kids to take the time to apply. They're just so lazy, they want to apply.
They don't need the money bad enough.
Yeah, so
Maybe their parents.
I don't know, I know that what I've seen in the past is if parents are involved in their kids will excel.
Yeah.
If you're not involved in your kids, why should they care?
Yeah, I agree.
So
And that date is September 10th.
September 10th for the first time. Usually what happens is we have to use that to cover our expense because then we go from there. So, and we're always looking for volunteers and also members. We've lost a couple members this year due to moving out of state and whatnot. So,
How much is
Anybody
it to be a
that's-
member?
what's that?
How much is it to be a member?
Show up, be live, warm body. And then we take it from, basically, yeah, it's about $35 every 6 months. So, yeah. We would really like to have someone from the Elbert School and from the Kiowa School. Just to tell us, when, and what's needed. We don't have representation. We used to have representation from Elbert School. And I'm trying to get, the McKnight kid, that we've talked to him several times. We just need someone that, hey, there's a kid down there that needs glasses or something like that. So if you know somebody that is on that school or a teacher or something, and possibly could spare some time to come to a meeting. Kind of feel a little inadequate because we don't have the resources, the channels, and who to talk to, we were fortunate that the gal down there kept in touch with us as far as doing the scholarships. Also, September or October, we will do Kids Site first, where we go in and screen the kindergartners and the first graders. And Elbert's been really good about making sure we come down there. Kiowa's been a little tougher.
we can sick Katie on that. She's up there every day.
Which school?
She's all over Kyle
Okay.
School.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'll kind of put the bug in her ear and then we'll,
Sure.
cause she goes around and she
Right.
talks to all the kids and the teachers, so.
well, she's more than welcome to come sit in on a meeting too.
Yeah.
Let us know what's going on, because otherwise we don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
So. I mean,
Thank you, Eric.
all right, well, thank you. Talk to you guys later.
Eric, do you want
Thanks.
this?
Have a good one.
Eric,
Any more public comment?
over here, Eric.
Aaron,
Did you give me a sheet, Eric? No.
Rick told me to pay him when
I got it.
he delivers it.
You got one?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll put it down. Are you sure that Ruth is not doing?
Well, if she doesn't, we'll give it back to you. Okay, we'll bring it over. Okay, so we're going to come out of public comment and we're going to go to new business. Discussion on proposed code updates.
Okay, so this is continued, these code updates. On how to start this. These are things that have been thrown around for a long time. They're stickler issues with our code. You guys keep coming to us and saying, you know, we need to update our code with provisions, yay or nay, regarding short-term rentals, Airbnbs, VRBOs. And then we have numerous issues that are pertaining to development that we want to get updated now rather than later. So I've talked to Ruth for quite a bit, talked to Susie. Danielle, I see your hand now. Hold on a second. And we feel that rather than the initial thought of updating the entire code in its entirety and then putting it in place really isn't feasible. We have pressing issues now that need to be addressed. People want answers. We have still development that, you know, is a possibility, or, you know, anytime. And these are all things that to keep from going into the same repetitive issues again, they need to be addressed. So I've included in your packet, because at one point before the decision was made to replace the entire code, planning and variance were meeting and discussing short-term rentals and Airbnbs. They were going over that portion of the code extensively. We had pulled a lot of information from other municipalities, from counties, for them to review, to compare. I think Debbie can speak to that. She was part of those discussions. So I included some of that in there for you. I also included the state's information regarding short-term rentals for you to review. So I mean, we could do more, but it is what it is. I know some of you are for it, some of you are against it. I take my direction from you. I know how I feel. I will tell you that this came about again recently because there was a listing wherein they asserted that the town board gave approval for an Airbnb. They have a listing to sell property here, and they advised that that property could be used as an Airbnb. So
Absolutely.
let me finish. And this is accurate against some of you guys' thought process. We actually went back and pulled board minutes, and that was a board approved situation. So while that was approved for them and they've been utilizing as such with that approval, they do understand that once they sell it, that is a process that has to be repeated by the next buyer by special review. Okay, or if by that time you guys have passed something saying yay or nay to short-term rentals or Airbnbs or whatever, then that's what we'll go by. But this is the situation where we're in right now. You have nothing in the code saying either way. So until something is put in the code, specifically residential, there's nothing the town can do about somebody utilizing a residential residence for an Airbnb or short-term rental. That's just a fact of it, okay? Now, if there's a business along 86, that's a different story. And that's why she sought special review and got that approval, because those are storefront businesses. There's specific language in the code saying you use those in very certain manners. Anything other than that, you have to have a special review by the board. So that's why we're in the situation where we're at. That's why we're having this discussion. I think this is something that we need to make a decision on and update our code with, because it's every day we're being faced in this office with requests for Airbnbs in this town. My opinion doesn't fit here. I don't live here. I work here. This is your town. I need you guys to make a decision either way. So I don't know what this process what it looks like, if we need to do workshops, work sessions, what we need to do. But we've got to get at least these two areas nailed down and updated in our code immediately.
And we've been talking about code for how long now?
Since we've been on the board.
Yeah.
That's besides the point, we're not getting to talk about it, we don't approve anything. Here's my thought, and I'll stick to my guns is on this deal on the Airbnbs. It's not nothing more than an absolute necessity in Kiowa, Colorado. It's 45 minutes anywhere to go spend the night for one night, 45 minutes anywhere. So it's the difference if you want to have people drive through this son of a buck and go on, or if it's difference if you want to have them check in, stay the night, spend money at Patty Ann's, Kiowa Bar, Beano's Pizza. I don't give a damn. But at the end of the day, as a guy that tries to put on an annual event at the fairgrounds, and it doesn't make a difference because we've been able to do it without it. But for those guys to travel 45 minutes, whether they want to beat their head against the wall, get into Parker or Douglas County and Castle Rock, now they can go to Bennett to stay the night or here. Here's the deal is, we're always trying to figure out another way to generate income in this community, in this town. I have no problem approving Airbnbs. I have no problem adding a lodging tax, putting together the stipulation that lodging tax goes to not only where 50% of it goes to the daily operation of what happens inside of the four walls of this building, but also goes into our tourism fund, whether it goes into the Easter egg hunt, when Rick he almost wore his orange Halloween costume shirt, or our lights for Christmas lights, or they want to put it into the multiple events that go on to the county fair at that grounds at the facility. But at the end of the day, it's needed. And with the way we work with other businesses and make the loops and hoops and everything else flipping hard, this is one way I see that we can do this. The difference between a long-term rental and a short-term rental as a neighbor, if you don't like the sons of bucks are gone in probably 72 hours. On a long-term rental, if you don't like that miserable son of a buck, who knows how long they'll be.
They're down at the end of 30 or a year lease or whatever.
Oh, I could tell you time and time again, my experience of renting. I could tell you the time and time again of I have family members that live next to one of those deals. Airbnbs are probably the most meticulous place on the block. More cases than not. Their yard's perfect. They got a custom cleaning service that comes in. Some are mom and pop wrong.
They have to be, or they don't rent them, they don't get the revenue. And I will say this. The Airbnb that was here in town. This is my opinion, and I said I don't have an opinion, but this is my opinion. If I was a citizen and I was renting, it's ingenious. Because it's a very unique location in a small country town that is attractive. I would stay there because it's unique, because it's in a little town, and to immerse yourself in a little town like this. You would need to stay in a place like that, if that makes sense. And those are the types of places I seek out when I look for an Airbnb. So.
Yeah.
I would tell you, I did sit on that committee. I personally have waited 8.5 months for you guys to make a decision on short-term rentals. I finally pulled the plug and sold mine. I'm doing a 1031 and I'll do one in the county. People can't just keep waiting. We have to make some decisions, whether they're hard ones or not, make them.
Not to be flippant, but that's one of the things that I struggle with as a mayor is the process and the time that it takes to get everything done. You know, we've been working on we've been working on our.
This code is
ordinance.
2.5 years though.
Oh, yeah, but we've been working on our ordinances and ordinance book and for years, and it just seems like it just. You know, it doesn't get done, and I'm frustrated with it. as
Well,
much as
it
you
never
are.
gets addressed again. It's
Yeah.
brought up, and then 6, 7 months go by,
Yeah.
it's never brought up
Can
again.
I make a recommendation that it stays on your old business until you make a decision? So you guys have to,
Yeah, the
Well,
only reason I put it on new is
That,
because.
yeah, that,
I
code-
know, but
Board.
I get it.
yeah, that code book's been a nightmare,
Yes.
and. And it goes clear back to Maria and beyond, before
Well,
that.
that was the last time you paid for it
Yeah.
to be done and never got it, so.
It just frustrates me, just. I have to bite my tongue and. Wait, hopefully we can get moving, because that's what I was gonna tell the board tonight, but the board didn't show up.
Well, we're up to a new election, so if you want a lodging tax, you better get your butt in gear.
Yeah, Joey,
I want to remind, because you knew, a couple of people here were here when I started the first Airbnb in town. That was known, at least. You guys recall over to Shasta? And I got shut down big time because 2 women came in and cried about how dangerous it was. So I'm gonna tell you, not only, you know who was staying there? Guys that were working in Lyman on the windmills, people that were coming in for the rodeos, people that were coming in for the fair. It wasn't like people coming to hang out, like destroy the place and party. I never had any problems with the house. Police were never called, but I got shut down and that cost me a lot of money because I had to fill that house. And you have to keep better care of the property. You guys are worried about having all this people driving around giving tickets. Guess what? If you have an Airbnb, you better take care of it because it has to show well or people give you bad reviews. And the other thing I wanted to say about the Airbnb above the bar is, and I want to make this really clear, everybody needs to really think about, it is not an R1, it's an R3 and a C3. That is a commercial building. In my opinion, altogether different anyways, even if you never allowed Airbnbs in this town for residential, that bars should totally not be part of that conversation. In my opinion, like that's just silliness. It helps, like if somebody drinks too much and they want to stay the night, there's a place for them to stay. You want them on the road or do you want them staying? Like I think it's silliness not to allow it. I personally like Airbnbs everywhere, I stay at them everywhere we go. We're always very respectful. We take good care of the properties. I think most people are not out to just cause trouble in Airbnbs.
I've never stayed in Airbnb, so,
That's,
but I'm
way to go.
excited about the fact that, Debbie's doing her place, her park up there and having little cabins
I
up
think
there.
it's great.
That's gonna be awesome, I think,
I hope it works out for you.
yeah,
But anyways, that was.
I realize, so we gotta move forward.
Well, I'm gonna help you move forward. I'm gonna make the motion tonight that we approve moving forward on Airbnbs with a lodging tax.
I will second that.
I will second it, you just gotta figure out what percentage you're gonna have, what rules and everything else to go along with it.
But
Like,
This-
once you advertise that tax, they're gonna get the phone calls on how do we
Well,
basically withhold it.
that tax cannot just be instituted by you guys. It has to go to the
Yeah,
people.
Oh, I know.
hold,
There's
so
a
if
whole
I can back up,
process.
just so everybody knows, so I can clarify, I'm proving that, now, I'm making the motion now. So we can move forward, because we need to have our deal approved by August. For how we're gonna institute the tax to go in front of the.
So move forward with our ordinance.
So I'm approving Airbnbs with the lodging tax moving forward. That's my motion.
And then we can have a special session and align everything, the rules.
Well,
and all
can I
that.
suggest, let me suggest, we revise this motion, giving direction to the town staff to proceed with getting the appropriate information, going through the processes, the workshops, the meetings, to put a proper code in place rather than a knee-jerk reaction of just open, let's just approve it. We need to have it written and in place before we just approve it. We need to be on the same sheet about what those stipulations are, because if you're looking at the information from all these different entities that we find,
Correct.
you're going to have
Yes.
this much for Summit County, and that's a county, I get that.
Right.
But it's, you've got to figure out what your requirements are. You got to figure out what your licensing,
go-
all of that.
While I respect that, I also understand that this board apparently is busy doing a whole bunch of other shit, cause it's been going on for 2.5 years. So tonight, I'm making the motion that we approve Airbnbs. And we figure out by the August meeting, how we wanna go about the lodging tax to get it on the ballot.
Ruth, do you want to have some input here as far as that tax and legality of these things?
Cause it has to go on the ballot to get approved by the voters, but we need,
Well, I have a couple of thoughts. I mean, I heard. For me, I just started discussing this issue with Kim and what the issues are around town. And I heard what Debbie said. Apparently, it's been discussed for a long time. So, I mean, you're certainly more than welcome to pass a motion recommending that we start working on that. Kim and I have discussed amending the zoning map, which requires public hearing and mapping, and designating where we would want to have those types of uses. And then, you know, how we want to regulate them. It's, you know, we would have to, like, we would have to focus. We would probably have to have some special meetings in order to get it on the ballot and understand what area of town we want to do it in. I'm not sure, you know, I'm not sure if everybody wants it, you know, all over town and permitted use.
where do you want it? At the car wash? I mean, they stay in houses. Those are in residentials. They could stay in apartments above a bar. That's commercial. So enlighten me. I mean, I don't think they're gonna put them in the trunks of the car at the car dealership, but where else are we looking at?
Don't be flippant. That's not appropriate.
Yeah, there's gotta be standards, there's gotta be
We have to
regulations,
do,
or we're
we
gonna
have to
find
make sure
ourselves
that
in a
it's
bad
done
place.
correctly.
Because then you're gonna have somebody back up, you're mad, because this board, you have one Airbnb, and I'm just throwing this out there, you have one Airbnb, and then everybody around it's gonna throw a fit because no regulations were put in place. And then you're gonna hold those whatever regulations to the rest of the town, but not to that Airbnb. You've got to have some sort of standards and regulations in place that, you know, protect the town and also protect the person owning the Airbnb. It has to go both ways. You just can't do it as a knee-jerk reaction. We've done a lot of research, so the research is there, the paperwork is there, what you have to form your code off of is there. But we need to have workshops, and we need to sit down, maybe not even workshops, you know, but there's gotta be a process. You can't just vote in. I mean, you can, it's your town, but you're putting yourself in a bad position legally by just saying flippantly, let's just do it. All willy-nilly, anything goes.
If you do that, then you can't enforce the tax and the municipal code and whatnot. We need to put those in place beforehand.
Yep.
So right now we have nothing.
So they.
So a guy can have one. We have nothing.
No, we don't.
Yeah, and I can challenge you, and that lady right there in the front row, she should have hammered us. We were completely out of line. So,
No,
So hold on, Deb, go ahead.
So Ruth, can we not, could we not take a lodging tax to the voters while they set up a licensing process for VRBO or Airbnbs? But at least make the 23 voting so that it could go on the ballot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would allow them to move forward with the lodging tax and put in a licensing process, and many towns have a maximum number they will allow. So that's something else that your planning commission had discussed, and a list of regulations.
yeah,
So
I think
From, you know, I have such a completely different point of view on Airbnbs. But, you know, it doesn't apply right now in Kiowa, but, it's a statewide issue and with respect to what it's doing in resort economies, it's crippling our economies. So, I'm happy to do whatever I'm directed to do, but they do backfire. And the loss, long-term and, commercial, retail, I recognize it's a small town, but everyone should carefully consider it. But a lodging tax, it's not gonna hurt anyone.
No, and I agreed with
Elizabeth,
everything.
It's more generic. That's generic.
Years before this ever hit.
Now Airbnbs are not allowed in Parker.
They have a minimum license number of them.
No, there's none. I talked to the Parker.
Oh, when we did our planning commission thing, there was a minimum number of them.
And
We have none now.
some of those,
Zero.
but they have lodging. I mean, you can still stay the
Yeah,
night
there's
somewhere
no
in Parker,
average,
same thing with
yes.
Castle Rock. They don't have them, but they have lodging. I mean, they're being lobbied by the business owners of, hey, don't put this in. And so, but there's not. That's our thing. We are filling a need. I believe there's 7 wedding venues within 15 minutes of Kiowa, Colorado. So I would rather those people stay here than try to figure out how to get people that are maybe enjoyed the party a little too much between here and Parker or Castle Rock or Bennett or Lime.
So would it be feasible then to have someone go down here and buy, say, for instance, Eamon's Round Top down there and put a 2 or 3 story motel in?
Sure. You have about $500.
Well, I mean, Manitou's taken all those little spaces
So here's,
and they're doing, I mean,
I'm not saying it's not a good idea, I'm just saying, Bill and I,
Yeah.
it's a very expensive.
oh, yeah,
process to run a hotel.
yeah.
I know 4 years ago, a group that looked in trying to put lodging here. And the traffic count doesn't support it yet, just doesn't support it. But it's just,
I hate to say it, but the cars that go through this town are unfreaking believable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable what comes through Cal. Go ahead, Terry.
My comment on that, if we go ahead and address the lodging tax. We may have somebody that pops up and says, hey, we want to build a motel here. Would that not apply to it? Then we have it in place. Would that be
Well, it
the
would
same
apply
thing?
to it, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it would
Yeah.
apply to it.
okay.
There has been a suggestion in the past that possibly we put a moratorium on requests to do Airbnbs and short-term rentals right now until you actually have something put in place. We do have an ongoing issue with a business right down here on Main Street. That has been a big problem in this office for quite a while. I'm not talking about the bar. But the bar did get it started again. It's just not your fault, but, keeping those issues at bay until we have really good regulations and standards put in place, I think would be a good idea. Ruth, correct me if I'm wrong, or we're just gonna open ourselves up to liability issues by not having those in place. And continue arguing with them.
Would you agree with that, Ruth?
Well, I think the issue in code enforcement, she can speak to that more specifically. That's an issue that we have next on the agenda. So maybe following that, we could talk about a moratorium while we adopt appropriate regulations and work on the lodging tax. The lodging tax doesn't hurt you guys at all, but Kim and I would probably ride everyone hard in terms of staying focused on appropriate regulations on where people want to see Airbnbs, because you may be surprised what people think, or maybe I'll be surprised what people think. Maybe they think it's a great idea all over town, but parking becomes an issue, safety becomes an issue. Just it's not simple.
So is that something we could get rolling on? in
Yes.
terms- So,
Yep.
I feel like we've already gotten rolling on it.
yeah,
I think we need to finish it.
we need to finish it, so that,
And right now, it's just laid with the planning and variance.
yeah.
If we're gonna update the code. I mean, do we need a motion to leave it with planning and variance, Ruth? For a recommendation before moving it to the board, or can it go straight to the board?
Well, planning and variance probably, I mean, they want to have a say, but in terms of the lodging tax. You all should make a motion with respect to the lodging tax, and then with respect to planning and zoning. I think maybe we have a joint work session, and that would be my recommendation. And lastly, the moratorium issue, I think we just talk about after we discuss in more detail how we want to deal with code enforcement. And what our recommendation is to the board with regard to that, and then we can address the moratorium. Does that make sense? It's a lot of things, but yes.
Yeah, I have another question.
There you go.
Because the bar has already been basically grandfathered in as a short-term rental.
Yep.
How does that affect everything moving forward? She should be able to sell it, in my opinion, as such. And then by the time escrow, whatever, say 3 weeks, a month,
Well, if it's
60
been,
days or
yeah.
whatever, then those new owners would then have to turn around and come in and,
they wouldn't have to go
Have
through a
to
special
reply.
review if the code has been updated prior to her selling the property. If she sells the property, the code's already been updated, then they can do that. And it depends on what standards and regulations you put in place.
Where I'm confused, and I hope somebody else can help me out here, otherwise I'll call my attorney and see if he can. And I'm not threatening, I'm just saying, I don't understand what you guys are saying.
That's why I call Ruth.
An R3 and a C3 is totally different than an R1. That is a commercial building with an R3 above it, which has totally different rules anyways. And it's always been a bar with apartments above it that have been used in different ways. So I guess I'm kind of confused at how that would ever play into, the Airbnb situation.
So going back to that hearing deal, that whole discussion was approving your business license to operate as an Airbnb.
They told
It
me I
wasn't-
was,
Yeah.
that building was already okay to do that. It was
It was
the
all
license
about
itself that they-
Approving the business license, and there was a small minority that tried to create resistance there. And so, in terms of, if I remember right, going through with our attorney at the time. And, I don't know if he was right there, and I damn sure don't know if he was right on his R1 assessment,
Yeah.
but, the thing is we were all, and I agree with it, is an R3.
The boarding house.
Yeah, and a CT is, it can lend itself to be used that way, but it all goes back to the business license. So, from your standpoint, I guess I don't, I still don't see the problem with it.
I don't, she's saying she thinks
Originally,
it's a C1
It's
and
a C1
an R1.
Yeah, the C1 and the R3, correct.
I was
That's the
not,
paperwork.
I wasn't even aware of
Because in
that.
'96, that got rezoned from a single family to a multifamily. That's where it went from an R1 to a R3.
Okay. But then the lower part is a C1, which is different in what way? C3 is what compared to a C1? I guess I don't even know. I'm gonna have to look that up.
I'd have to go back and relearn. but-
Yeah, because I'm not saying you're wrong, Kate. I don't know that.
That's
No, just a
interesting.
And
paperwork.
again, I have to apologize to you guys that we haven't moved quicker on these codes and.
Well, we've had some
ordinances. I mean,
distractions.
it's a process that just, to me, is unbelievable in terms of getting a code book done and enforcing codes and doing the things we need to do. So,
Would the town have to vote on it? The people? The people would have a say, I would think.
For the Airbnb, well, they would have a say. I mean, we would open it to public comment,
yeah, we'd have.
but as far as a vote like the lodging tax, no.
Okay. It's a smart one.
Well,
So we're
So
gonna
the
leave
lodging
it.
tax is actually a process by the state. I had the state come visit me one time and ask me, why don't you have a lodging tax?
It's a ballot initiative.
It's a ballot
Right.
initiative,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
go
they
from
do.
the voters, so the
Yes.
town does have a.
So
say.
anytime we try to put a new tax out there, it has to be approved by voters,
Yeah.
yes.
And
How long of a process is that to get it approved to be on the ballot?
You know, I'm gonna call Brandon at the state tomorrow, and since we do have serious discussion on wanting to do that at this point, I'm gonna find out what that process is and what we need to do tomorrow.
That would be great because in the wintertime, out here, we have a lot of folks that are stranded and have to stay the night at the fairgrounds or at the school or wherever they can find somewhere to stay. So I think it would be best if we get rolling on it as quick as possible.
You're not the first one that has said that to this office.
I know.
Our world record is 48 at the school.
Well, I
At
remember
least.
in 2000, was it 2019, we had that big blizzard. And there were so many people at the fairgrounds.
And at that point, there wouldn't be enough Airbnbs anyway, so let's face it, right? Like, you're still gonna
Nor
have to
could they get
accommodate,
there.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy that's fastest to the Airbnb is
Yeah.
gonna get, right?
The guy
He's on
that
his wife's.
reserved it, and was able to get there.
Price is
But,
triple.
but at the same time, you know, there's a lot of. There's a lot of things that it lends to and,
Okay, so we're gonna move forward with that.
Okay, so are
Okay,
we
well,
make
we need to ask Trevor if he will revise his motion, because he made the motion and I
Yeah.
seconded it, so.
So how are we
We
revising
have a
that?
motion and a second.
Moving it forward to pursue the lodging tax now,
Yes,
and then I don't remember how she worded that,
And then we can have special sessions to
work session. to do the-
together
With-
with.
With planning,
And
with
various,
the-
correct.
Okay,
and I will second that.
we're good with that?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
good with that?
Okay, so along those same lines, we all know what just happened with development here and the lack of clarification and, or I should say clarity in our code regarding quite a few things. So, we have very outdated impact fees. Go ahead.
Okay. On that motion, we need to go ahead and take a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we forgot to take a vote. You just-
Sorry. I'm just moving it forward. It's like
I know,
8:30,
I
so
know.
I'm like, I know everyone wants to spend the night here.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay,
Okay, now
now,
go.
now we can
Let's
talk
move
about
on.
that.
So same situation. We have multiple areas of the code that need to be updated and brought current. There's been discussion about putting a packet in place for future development or proposals for development in town in order to do an accurate packet for this town, which is what I guess Elizabeth's gone to, Bennett's gone to. We need to have our code up to date. We need to have it clear on what we do and do not want here. Ruth, did you have some input here or to this area regarding the code? Or,
can I jump in real quick?
yeah, go ahead.
Here's something I'm gonna stick my neck out. If we're already going through the work and going through the expense of putting stuff on the ballot. I think we ought to put it onto the ballot, because I've caught hell from a lot of people. I think we ought to put it on the ballot. Whether the town of Kiowa will approve. Will allow special metro districts or not. And leave that up to. Citizens of the town.
Ruth, I see your brain going.
You just gotta remember, you have a big elderly community, so.
And all I'm saying is we're putting that to the ballot, whether metro districts can be approved. But to be used inside the town limits, outside, excluding the water authority. But outside of the water authority. You know, that basically whether, cause I catch all this hell about, well, you guys are allowing these private metro districts and they're gonna make this much. Cause they looked at the same stupid sheet that I saw from the commissioners meeting. where their mills are, 36 and ours is 13. So
Well,
I honestly think,
that's not a local municipality thing, that's actually a state thing. The state's
No.
allowing them, the municipality, correct me if I'm wrong,
No,
But-
it is, you can do it within a city limit. It's in you guys' code book.
yeah,
to block them.
Did we have a motion and it didn't, now that we're discussing again?
Yeah, we had a motion on Airbnbs, we moved on to the development, number 2.
Okay,
So your code book right now currently says that we do allow metro and special districts. So it would just be a
I mean,
change.
I'm not. The issue of whether we permit them and where we permit them, that authority mostly rests with planning and zoning variants. And as I recommended, is that we should have a joint meeting and let the community know that's what we're looking at approving. And that if there's any zone districts or areas in town where people don't want to have them, I prefer to do it now rather than later.
I mean, we went through a lot
Isn't that pretty,
of work to decide whether we were gonna allow or not allow certain sales and certain industry in the town of Kiowa, which is fine.
That's it.
Voters vote. This is the same deal.
No,
And
the,
this is
I mean,
fine.
all
This
it
is what-
becomes is an overlay district. It's very simple. If you want a blanket, you can do Airbnb anywhere in town, fine, but I think everybody needs to cooperate and weigh in on that. That's all I'm recommending. If you want to do otherwise, you can certainly do that.
I thought we were done with
Well,
Airbnb.
now we're different pathways.
Yeah, so we discussed Airbnbs, we moved on to development, we're talking about what in the code regarding development needs to be updated now. And Trevor's input was, he would like to see that part of that code update be a consideration in not allowing special districts in the town where the code currently does allow them. So that was his input on the subject of development code updates.
A, I completely misunderstood what he was saying.
That's
B,
what it's-
I don't even know how to respond to that, except for the fact that special districts have a lot of authority in the state and they provide a lot of, when done properly, can really improve a community and provide incredible services. And there's all types of special districts, and I would never want to preclude that opportunity in our community, nor would I ever recommend it. I don't even, I mean, I
Makes
don't
sense.
actually, like, I just don't. I mean,
Isn't-
ambulance, fire, I mean, all those can be special districts. You can have a library district. I mean, all of those entities are special districts in this state. So that doesn't seem like that's constructive.
is most of the construction in Colorado, like all these developers, because there's just hundreds of them up by Aurora that are putting up houses right and left, don't they all pretty much fund themselves through metro districts? Would that be a true statement, do you think? 'Cause there's not-
Depends.
Yeah,
I mean, it depends how big they are. And, you know, if they're in unincorporated parts of, or incorporated, I mean, there's a lot of exceptions, but I would say as a gross generalization, most large developers use special districts in order to finance their infrastructure.
that's what we were told today, that, that's a thing that's gonna continue. Because that's how developers fund their projects, so
And they pass that on to the residents, as we all know.
residents, yeah. So,
Okay, so I guess by putting this on the agenda, what I'm seeking from you guys is approval to proceed with seeking code updates in these two areas rather than update the entire code in its entirety, waiting till to do that. Address these issues immediately, whether that entails setting up work sessions with you guys to figure out, is it special districts, is it impact fees, what all those areas are we need to look at doing, rather than doing that tonight. Can you give me a motion instructing this office to start proceeding? Yeah, code updates in these two areas.
So moved.
We got a motion and a second to get moving. Hot dog. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
They'll still be doing the meeting between the trustees and planning and variance
Yes.
before you.
Yes, yes, they
Um,
need to be involved in it.
okay, I need to stop. Joy, do you have
Yes, sir.
anything else you'd like to
No,
present?
I appreciate you guys taking the time to. And like I said, the only thing I'm confused about is that building versus homes, and I'm not saying, cause I did both,
Well, it's been very confusing for me since I've been here.
yeah.
I mean, the code is seriously, I mean, not the code, the zoning really needs to be updated, our map needs to be updated, there needs to be clarification.
Because I do believe there's some people in town, not gonna give any names,
Yeah,
I don't know them personally, I just think they're probably Airbnb. And they're getting away with it somehow, I don't know if they're going on a private site or what they're doing, but that's fine, you know, it's
Yeah.
good, whatever. My house in particular that did get closed down, it was a very expensive mistake on my
Yeah,
part.
but we got a cute neighbor now, so.
That's right. My daughter moved in, but I'm just saying, it was an expensive process, but it was also my fault. I take responsibility that I didn't come first and ask. To be honest, in my mind, it wasn't a sneaky thing I was doing because I told everybody. I felt like it was my property. Why can't I do with my property what I want to do with it? I mean, I invested, I took all the risk. Why can't I lease it out, right? How I like. And I did also find out back then, if I'm correct, 30 days or more is considered full-time. So if I brought in some guy from wherever that was working, he could do 30 days and I could get another guy to do 30 days, another guy. Is it really that different? Yeah, I mean, it might be harder to
Yeah.
find, don't get me wrong, you know. generally
Once
you're
the
not-
lease runs out for ours, it's at month to month, so. with our
You're
rental
right,
property.
cause yeah, cause you don't
Yeah.
have leases, I gotcha. So I don't know, you guys, I have a hard time with not being able to do what I want with my property. On the other hand, I also see people wanting their privacy and their homes being their homes and knowing their neighbor. I get all that, like. I think commercial's a little different. I will say that, but
Well, we're gonna move forward on this because it drives me crazy, so. All right, anything else on the,
not on that subject, but real quick, I don't want to pull
Fee
away
schedule.
from, but Danielle actually had her hand up when Eric was
Yes.
here. It was an oversight on my part. We'd already moved on and Danielle really has something she would like to say for public comment, please. Danielle, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. I just wanted to apologize. I completely thought that the Kiowa bar was going to be there to present our thing. So I want to clarify that we will be receiving some of the funds because they're going to be placed in a strategic place and we will have additional places where they can buy liquor, and the Kiowa Schools Education Foundation will be serving it. We will give them wristbands. So that funding will go back to the school and a limited amount will go to the bar.
Bar serving or is the foundation?
Katie's asking, is the bar serving or is the foundation?
I guess I don't know who Katie is. Is that a board
Katie's our-
member?
She's
our new clerk.
She replaced Tasha.
Okay. So I'm personally gonna be serving because I'm not happy that they didn't show up tonight. And I don't think they should get all the funding from something that we went, that we did all the legwork for. So a portion will go back to the bar, but it will go to both of us. So the school will be getting a majority of it.
Well, then they,
Or
You good on that, Kate?
Both names are on the application.
well, when you apply for the license, whoever is getting the license pays for it. And if so, the bar already paid. for
You
the
can
license.
refund the bar their money and I'll bring you a check tomorrow.
Saw that coming.
Who handles the
So-
liability and insurance in the
I
bars?
do. I
They
do.
rent-
I paid all the liability insurance today. And I
Yeah.
can give you a certificate of insurance if you're concerned about that. The bar literally is only coming and profiting from this, and they haven't done any of the legwork except for write $100 check. I'll bring you $150 tomorrow if I need to.
Well, that would be considered a bribe.
Okay. I'll bring you donuts and $100. How's that?
On the notice, it says Kiowa Bar and Kiowa School.
And Kiowa Schools Education Foundation. We both did it. It's in both of our names. The funds will go to both of us.
I'll let
It
them
just
argue.
might not be equal.
Katie, did you have a comment?
So how are you facilitating the law of being 21 and up? How are you guys facilitating that?
I'm gonna read IDs and I'm gonna provide wristbands, but I've never actually been to a board meeting where the board members didn't ask the questions.
Danielle, don't do that. Don't be disrespectful to my clerk. Don't be disrespectful to my clerk.
She's the one that does all the licensing, so.
She's Tasha.
Okay. So
Is it-
is it I just wanted to clarify because I wasn't on because I thought that they were going to be representing us. Is the license that got approved in the Kiowa Schools Education Foundation's name?
It's in both.
Okay, well,
Stand
that's,
by, Danielle.
okay, perfect. Well, that I just wanted to clarify and say that I do apologize to the board for someone not being there to represent us, because normally I would be there if I knew that they weren't going to show up.
And then third, how are you enforcing the law? Are you having law enforcement there? Do you have
Yes,
some- Wait.
yes, we have to by county regulations.
I recommended to her, since she filled out the application and she put all the information in there, that she follow exactly what she put in the application is gonna happen.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, the sheriff's department will be there. And it's, I mean, I've insured the whole thing. We have over $5 million of liability insurance at this point.
And I don't, is that required for our packet here, or does she just need?
That's
I know-
required for the county,
Right,
but they also require that the sheriff's office is there.
okay, I just know you submitted a lot of information in this packet, and I didn't know if it's a requirement from the town that the same information, just showing that you submitted it, has to come in our packet too, there's no, okay, so you were
And
good,
I did send that over.
okay.
Thank you,
I
Danielle.
think we're golden
Uh,
then.
On one other thing, I had one other comment that if you do approve VRBOs, I'm not a property owner in the town of Kiowa, so my opinion might not matter, but let's say you approved it in the town of Kiowa, but you didn't approve it in the cruise division or vice versa. I might be a little upset that you did one and not the other. The town is not very big. You're not talking about Vale. And so I think it's a little silly to consider excluding something and not including the other thing. I'm sure Ruth would have appreciated having a VRBO to stay at if we had snow when she came down for a meeting. So that's just my 2 cents, but thank you for approving my liquor license.
When we get to the point where we have public comment and we're considering an ordinance to either approve it or not approve it, I would suggest you come to that meeting and give input to that. That would be appropriate there. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on, okay. Under new business, last thing under new business, proposed code enforcement fine schedule. This has been brought to my attention by a few board members that maybe we're not moving fast enough in the process of code enforcement. So it was requested of myself that I put some sort of draft fine schedule in place. I will let you know, I called multiple municipalities. They did not have a schedule in place for fines. Those fines are put in place by judges at municipal court hearings when it gets to that point. This was pulled from Bennett, who proposed and passed a fine schedule for their town that starts September 1st. I removed the fines or the violations that are not applicable to code enforcement directly. And sent this to you as a draft. We had a meeting this afternoon with Susie and Katie and Ruth and I to discuss this. And they're here to talk to you about this as well. There are a lot of moving parts with this. It's not as easy as it may seem to just put a fine schedule in place and say, here it is, and call it so and move forward. You're putting yourself in a lot of liability issues by doing that. And I think you need to hear all of the information so you can make a very educated decision on how you want to handle this, if you want to move forward with it, or any way that you want to consider it. So Ruth, do you want to give your input on this first? You're muted. You're muted, Ruth.
I think because it's late, I'm not gonna belabor this. And
Yeah.
essentially, we want, in order to deal with all the code enforcement issues and be able to move forward with exercising more control and having more ability to enforce violations, the only way the town can really accomplish that and adopt fines is you have to create a municipal court in order to enforce those legally if you want to fine people. And that's the only way you can do it in the state. And so.
And that comes at an additional cost. So part of what we discussed today, and we'll just run through this real quickly, and Susie, I'll pass it to you in just a second, is, you know, if you make that decision to put a court in place, there's cost associated with that. There's cost associated with that judge, there's cost associated with that prosecutor, there's cost associated with that. And if you end up with a $25 fine and court and a space and the fees and the contracts amount to $400, where's that put us? So we've got to be very careful on how you move forward with something like this, if that's what you choose to do. Keep all these things in play, you know, and go ahead, Terry.
Okay, what has been said to me since we approved to have code enforcement?
Uh-huh.
We are paying out $1,200 a month for somebody to supposedly enforce the code.
Mhm.
We get absolutely no revenue back into this town for this. So all of my neighbors are saying the town is doing nothing. You're paying out $1,200 a month. It's great that they're working with somebody. They can work with them 6 months, they can work with them a year. What are we doing about it if they don't comply?
Okay,
That's the residents' objections. So that's why I brought it to you guys' attention.
And Trevor can remember that we used to have traffic court. I don't remember who the judge was, but we had it set up. We had a prosecutor, an attorney that came in and was our prosecutor.
Mhm.
And we've got files back there of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of traffic violations.
correct.
And so what we need to do is contact. And I don't know where it says in the records. You remember that judge's name?
Dorothy still,
Pardon me?
Dorothy still.
We
Okay,
have
so
papers.
contact them, see what it's gonna, see what the fee is and move on.
Here's, I can address part of the comments. There's a lot of things in town that have been cleaned up. I think in some ways code enforcement has been beneficial to the appearance of the town. I think it's kind of selective code enforcement, because you know, what they pick on that side of the street and what happens on that side of the street, you know, or this end of town versus that end of town is kind of interesting, but that's, I don't know, that, you know, somebody comes and gives me grief, I'm like, here's the number here, if you wanna
Yeah.
file a complaint, a grievance, or whatever, a bitch, go there. But yeah, it's $1,200 a month. I think for the most part, there's a lot of things that have been improved. I don't know. I mean, know, per se where we are or what we are, but,
Well, Susie's here, she can speak to.
But Terry's right, you know, we have, and I'm gonna call them habitual offenders.
Yeah.
That, well, you just give me a letter, you're not gonna do anything to me, so just keep sending the letter, I don't give a shit. Crap.
yeah,
And so those are the people that, you know, and you can guess who's doing the complaining.
I don't
And
need to-
where the complaints are coming from, but it's, if we don't have a process, and that's like everything I've been talking about these codes. Let's move forward, let's keep moving forward and get something in down, figure out what it's gonna cost. Figure out when we need to have courts, figure out the fee schedule, and if it's feasible, do it, if it's not feasible, don't do it.
So what Susie and Kim and I discussed today was getting an idea of the budget and from the two communities, both of which can't remember their names. What was,
And Hugo.
And
Your
you,
Trail and Hugo.
Now,
and they have court every other month. And Susie can speak to this more specifically. She really would be kind of managing that. The town clerk would be working on that as well. I would have a minimal role unless I had to get involved, and you know, it'd probably be worthwhile. I mean, and we would adopt a fee schedule by a resolution and begin to move forward with enforcement. So if you would like to direct us or to bring that information back with the three of us, we're happy to do that.
I would recommend we do that.
so
Okay.
moved.
Susie, did you have something you wanted to say?
Who's that?
Just a couple things. One is, I can guarantee you there's no selective enforcement. I do the entire town every time I'm out there. I don't have one end versus another. What is selective are the residents who decide to comply and those who don't. So those who don't probably appears as though I've never issued any kind of a notice, but that's not true. So I have escalated notices. I've even issued notices through certified mail to, you know, make them appear more formal, because I don't have court to fall back on. It's got to be me just working with these residents. And I know there's people out there who think it takes too long, but I'm not sure what else they would expect the town to do. We can't go in and abate. We can't go in and trespass. We can't go in and take care of these things. It takes me working with these people, and some of them take longer than others, but they do eventually get them done. I've only got a handful of people who are not complying. There's 246 violations so far. There's 132 closed on your report, but that doesn't include the other 50 I closed last time I was out. So you're looking at maybe 50 that are still open, but those are all relatively new with only a couple that are old. Some people, if it's weeds, they mow, and then within just 2 weeks, especially with all this rain, it's right back up there again. But, you know, these homeowners or tenants or whoever have 30 days to remedy their violations. It's in your code that way. So 30 days is a long time to watch something happen. And then at the end of the 30 days, when they contact me and say, hey, okay, I got this letter 28 days ago, what do I need to do? And I walk them through it and I see progress, you know, then I work with them. So I wish people who had concerns about what they see happening would come to me, and I can certainly help them understand how the process works and what's going on, because it's really not, it's not as it seems. I don't know how to
Okay.
explain that more. This is what I'll say. It's something that has to be discussed often in towns, a couple times a year, because people start getting irritated and angry with other residents who are not complying. But the town has to make a decision. Do you want to be aggressive and take people to court right away and be very punitive about it? Or do you want the ultimate goal to be to get things cleaned up without
exhausting a lot of resources and budget. So it's all something that you all need to consider. I'm here to help with court if that's the route you want to go. I do believe Kiowa should have a court at least maybe every other month. That works well in Deer Trail that way. It's kind of a happy medium without exhausting resources and budget, but it is a lot of work. There's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot to it, not only to get it started, but to keep it running as well. So.
Yeah.
Director Howard has a question.
Susie, it's not any question as to, you working with them and stuff. The citizens that I'm talking to, they are upset that we are spending money and nothing is coming back to the town for it. So just so you be clarified.
And I can say this, we had this discussion when we were talking about taking the IGA on with the sheriff's department, and everybody was very forceful about wanting a set traffic cop. And they wanted that revenue in this office for the traffic violations coming through town. Law enforcement was not created as a revenue source to bring revenue into this office. Neither is code enforcement. Code enforcement is for compliance. And that's what Susie's trying to do, is gain compliance and clean up within our town, not really serve as a revenue source for the town. So that's where that is.
And I don't think it would be, in my opinion, a revenue source, but it would get people to then move off square two.
Yep.
And get things to, you paid $75 for a barking dog or whatever the heck that fee is right there. I don't know,
You're
it's
gonna
on there
remedy the
somewhere.
problem.
Then they're gonna
Right.
shut their door.
Yep.
We've had almost fist fights on my street with two neighbors because of barking dogs. So
I think.
So I have kind of an analogy for you. Okay, it's very simplistic, but there's two kinds of garage sales. There's one where you want to make money and there's one where you just want to get rid of all your crap.
Yep.
And you can't have both. So if you want to make money and generate revenue by cleaning up the town, it's going to cost you a lot of money to do that. I mean, I don't know of a city or town in the state or even in the country that covers their costs for code enforcement. There isn't one. It's one of those departments and one of those functions of a community where you have to decide, do we want to just pay to keep things cleaned up and looking nice? Because you'll never generate the revenue to make up the cost for it. And unfortunately, when people see the cost that it takes, they don't see all the workings behind the scenes. I mean, Kim, you can attest to this, how much we're talking about just the zone. We hardly ever talk about any of the nuisance stuff. It's all the zoning and the time and the effort. I mean, it all takes everybody's time and money. And there's no way we're going to get any kind of revenue back from that. There's no way, because most of the stuff isn't going to go to court. It just isn't. It could take a month or two to get somebody to clean up and you won't see a dime. And then even if you do end up with having a municipal court, you're going to have to kind of, what do I want to say? You're going to have to lead the judge in how you want court run in a way. I mean, of course, it's up to that person, but if you want to be really punitive about it and it's up to a $26.50 fine, then you're going to have to kind of let the judge know and the prosecuting attorney know and myself that you really want to hit people with fines. But that goes a whole nother direction as well, because you have a community that, and I work in a lot of them, that people just don't have the resources to pay those fines. So then what you're doing is you're taking money out of their pocket when they could be hiring somebody to help them remove all of this stuff. So it's just this vicious cycle, unfortunately. And when we get into court, you have to be prepared that I rarely ever get a fine over $100 out of a resident in any jurisdiction I've ever worked in. Unless it's a zoning issue, you can end up with more of a fine. But for the most part, it's really not about generating revenue. It's just something that the town has to accept and decide, do you want code enforcement or in that fashion or do you not? So.
Your comment?
Really drives me crazy, because I'll tell you, I actually just left from from an area where it's definitely a lower income area than here. And that area is always so nice. It blows my mind. And I asked her, I go, why is it? It's so clean around here, you know? And she goes, twice a year they have cleanup. People put stuff out on their curbs and they pick it up. That would probably be cheaper than having somebody do this monthly and maybe not get it done anyway.
Actually, that's very expensive for the town to,
Okay,
to
okay.
rent those.
I don't know what it would cost. I'm just saying,
I
at the
checked
same
into it.
time, okay. They do that, and they also have main dumpsters that they put in their alleys, and people tend to get rid of stuff that way. I don't know. That's all I'm saying about that. And as far as the traffic out here, now that I'm over at Just Beachy, you guys, I'll stand out there, and it's not even about money at that point. Grandma Ruth is gonna be walking across the street one of these days and get plowed over by a
Oh, my.
semi.
Yeah.
These trucks come down this road. I swear to you, sometimes they hit that hill up there and they fly through town at 55, 60 miles an hour. A kid's gonna get killed, an old lady's gonna get killed. Why is it that if the sheriff's department, do you guys have to pay the sheriff's department to be involved?
The
in
reason
town?
that is, and I'll cut you off right there, they have 8 deputies for 1,800 square miles.
Okay, they're always on Highway Bennett giving tickets.
Yeah,
And it's
they are.
55 out there,
That's
but
where
they're
6
never
are.
here from what I've seen. I mean, I'm out here and every time of the day. Later in the afternoon, when those semis come through, or even early morning, those guys are flying.
I
They
sat in
really
a
could
meeting
kill
in that
somebody.
corner office
Don't
and
deny it.
for a half hour and counted 27 semis making the turn.
Oh, and they go fast.
And the town of Bennett is trying to address that because they don't want them on the Kiowa Bennett Road because they are coming down to that new development now. That's part of the town. And
These guys, I think in particular that I'm seeing.
yeah, the
Are
ones
coming down
this-
this hill
yeah.
and they're going straight through.
And
they're-
coming
they
this
get-
way too.
They
yeah.
get that speed going
I
and
know.
they're not slowing down and it's kind of scary for all
Yeah.
these kids and these older people.
Well, that will reach out to State Patrol because we've got one in town now.
So that would be state patrol. They
Yeah,
would probably,
yes.
Yeah,
Maybe
we'll
sit
reach
around
out.
there.
Well, the sheriff too, State Patrol and the sheriff.
'cause it's
They
not
chased a
money, it's not
motorcycle
safe.
yesterday down Elbert Road and one cop clocked him at 103, the other one
Yeah.
109.
It's
And when
not
he
safe.
passed me, he was way over 100 because he was
It's
gone.
kind of scary, you guys, because I
Oh, you
think
ain't
people,
kidding. You should take 15-year-olds out driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. It's very bad here in town. My business too is right here on Main Street, right at the crosswalk. And we need a light here. If there's any way we can get some sort of flashing light where this crosswalk is right out here in front of my shop. And I'm just right down from you, Just Peachy, but we need a light here. to
There's
slow
lots of
people
things.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's things.
So
I need.
where do we want to investigate this a little more?
I think we
See where
should,
we're at?
and back up. You know, her on her deal, she does need a little bit of teeth and maybe that's what we need. And every other month probably wouldn't be that bad, just, and it may take care of itself. If they realize that,
And
yeah,
we
it could
just,
go to that
yeah,
level.
we just need to investigate cost.
Yeah.
To make sure we.
Another thing on, I'm sorry, on your code enforcement and court, is there anything out there that is like pro bono to help us out getting started on having a court again?
We'd have to check into that.
Susie,
Oh, well, two things. One is, I know several people just in your area between Hugo and Deer Trail and stuff that I'm sure would be happy to help. I'm happy to help. I'll help Kim and Katie and stuff to a point, if having discussions and that kind of stuff, I'm not going to charge you for any of that. And I know, Leanne from Deer Trail, Maria from Hugo and stuff would be happy to meet up with any of us to go over what they do in court and all that kind of stuff. They're not going to charge you for that either. So there are a lot of ways that we can do this at a lower cost and get it done. It might take a little bit longer, but the alternative is that we can keep the costs low. I also wanted to mention really quick, when there's these discussions about what doesn't get done in the town of Kiowa, I would hope that people would remember, and maybe the board can help with this, that, if there's 246 cases and 196 of them have been closed, I like to focus on those people also who have complied and who have made the effort, some of them a lot of effort, to take care of things as well. We can't forget that things do get done. And people, your residents do heed those letters for the most part. They call me, they email me, then they get stuff done. So just try to remember that a little bit, or help the other residents who are complaining about it understand that, you know, a lot of this gets done. I know they're focusing on the bad, but there's a lot of good that comes with it. So
All right, thank you.
Didn't we have a town cleanup at one time that people could bring their junk? And because I think about 2 or 3 years ago there was.
We did, and when I came on and I checked into the cost to the town at the time that I came on, it was not budget or financially feasible for the town to incur that kind of cost. With
Okay.
rollaways and trash removal, all of that would cost the town for people to come do
Here, I'll
that.
fill that in. And the reason that we stopped that, not only cost, but we had people from out of town
Yes,
that filled our dumpsters.
Yeah, and I knew that Elizabeth had done it, but you had to take your water bill to prove that you lived in the town of Elizabeth.
We had it a couple days and people from out of town would come in after we were supposedly closed and fill our dumpsters.
Oh, wow.
We're talking
So-
fill our
and
dumpsters.
all over the ground too.
Yeah, so that's why we don't do that anymore. Okay,
Susie,
let's move on.
Susie,
So Deer Trail does a town cleanup twice a year. It is very helpful. It does cost the town money, but what I can do is have their town clerk get in touch with Kim and maybe let her know what resources they use and how they keep costs down. And they do use the water bill, and it's only open for the day because they do get people who, you know, use it that aren't supposed to. So I can help with that as well, and
Okay.
you know, bring a cost back to you all. So
The owners over at Youth Village put a roll-off dumpster twice a year,
Yeah,
and people aren't cleaning up their yards.
yeah. Okay, let's move on. We have other items we need to discuss. Thank you, Susie.
you're
Alright.
very welcome.
thank you, Susie, for being here with us tonight.
Okay.
Did you have anything you wanted to speak to? You guys have any questions before we let her go about her report?
No,
Nope. Okay. All right, Susie, thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
for the
you.
time tonight.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
Stay safe.
whole business.
All right, I believe we need to go to executive session before we go to old business. Ruth? You there? We're going to executive session, Ruth.
Ready?
All right, Rick, go ahead.
Okay, I don't have the board problems in here. Oh, there we go. Subject to Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-4024, the town of Kiowa Board will meet in an executive session upon affirmative vote of 2/3 of the quorum present for the sole purpose of considering conferences with the town attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions regarding the chargeback agreement with Kiowa Creek Meadows, legal issues with the former town attorney and the Kiowa Water and Wastewater Authority operating agreement, determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators on the Kiowa Creek Meadows chargeback agreement, former town attorney and KWWA operating agreement. Need a motion? So moved. Second?
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Okay,
Don't lock me out because I'm gonna go to the restroom.
okay.
Thank you.
I gotta go get a frickin' coat. I'm freezing here.
Yeah.